Well, good morning, everyone. Happy week 3 to you. I hope you're all doing well. Can you believe we're already in week 3? It's going quickly, isn't it? And I hope you're enjoying learning about assistive technology. I've been liking reading your discussion boards and seeing what you have to say about it. So I want to start first today by Courtney had written me a message and asked me to clarify about my reading test aloud and those types of things. And I thought, well, I should share that with everybody. I don't read SAT, ACT, SBAC, the official test out loud to anybody. That's where assistive technology should be provided for the students that legally, are allowed to use it. Your district and your school should be providing that opportunity. So if they're not, that's something that they're out of compliance, and you need to get you need to get that figured out. But back to what I was saying, on my personal tests, I do visual, audio, timing, all of those things to work with students, and not just with my students with special needs, but with all of my students. And as I was saying to Courtney, one of the things they've shown in brain-based research, and I'm sure you guys have heard this, is that we have to model our own brain process. We have to model for the kids what we're doing. And so by reading a question out loud, explaining what type of question it is, showing them how you figure out the puzzle of the question, helps all students to advance forward on SAT, ACT, and SBAC. Another thing that I wanted to add about that, and I actually sent Courtney a link about the SAT assistive technology, and I'll put it up on the announcements if any of you want to look at it as well, because it's interesting. But the other thing that I've been finding in my classroom in the last couple of years, and I'm not sure how they're going to figure this out, and I'm interested to see how they worked it out with students that were using computers for assistive technology. But I'm finding with the SBAC that my students, when they're doing long periods of time on the Chromebooks, and these are all my students when they're testing, they're beginning to struggle with eye strain and migraines related to the computer screen on these tests that are, hours and hours of computer time. I also have students, regular and special needs, that are struggling with the navigation of the Chromebook. And so I think those are some of the things that we're going to have to look on about in the future related to technology, and also making sure that all students are getting an equitable shot at learning how to use these Chromebooks before they do these online assessments. Otherwise, what's happening is they're not only having to think about the online assessment and their answers, but they're also trying to have to figure out how to navigate the test online using the equipment, maybe for the first time for some of them, if they haven't been using it in the classroom. So these are things that we're going to have to look at too. And as technology advances, as always, it's going to add more wonderful assistive technology for students, but it's also going to bring up more questions about equality, legal equality, that we're going to have to look at, in relation to testing. So this is an interesting time. So I wanted to just stop and clarify that for a minute. Now I want to go to the week 1 discussion board, which was, you were watching the video about Ben, which you all had great things to say. And I just wanted to bring up a couple points. I grabbed some of you to give you some shout outs and kind of, give you my thoughts on the discussion. And if I don't call you this time, trust me, I will. I get to everybody over the course of 8 weeks. But Jason, you brought up the grass is greener. So did David, the grassy hill across the way, that whole statement. And Jason, you had talked about, watering your own. And don't we all need to do this? And it's not just assistive technology, and it's not just, in the classroom, it's everywhere. We all have this tendency, as humans, to have this fantasy about, it'll just be better if this, or my life will just be better if I have this, or my son would just be better if there was this. Okay. And that's just not the way it works. And you've got to water the grass that you have, and make that work for you. And I love that you brought that up. And Courtney, you had said that parents who close themselves off, and their children, they close them off to the endless possibilities of ET. They box them into a smaller world. And once again, you're absolutely right. But what I want you guys to, understand as you're looking through this world of assistive technology and you're kind of opening your mind to the ideas of this, the parents do this all the time. We do this all the time, not even related to assistive technology. We come in, and I think it was, hang on, Jeffrey, you said that, parents sometimes come in with strong preconceived ideas, what will and won't work, and it's limiting. Well, see, you're all hitting the same thought there. It's limiting. It's limiting for all of us. And then David, you brought up that your coach, told you could do it, and that you also ran around like a chicken with your head cut off. But he showed up, he was there, and he believed in you. And that's, that's what we're looking for here. And when we limit ourselves, limit our ideas, and I see it all the time in education. I know you guys do too. I have a bunch of 11th graders in my classroom right now, special needs, non-special needs, who are absolutely in a panic that if they don't follow this traditional path, meeting all of their A through G requirements and going directly into a four-year college, that they are failing life. Now, how sad is that? To feel at 16 years old that if you don't do everything exactly how has it been set out in this very small, tight box, that you've ruined it all. And I think we have to look at these things, especially with assistive technology, but especially with everything in education. We have to begin thinking outside of the box, and we're seeing some of that in states. California's doing it with our career tech education and thinking about multiple pathways instead of just the traditional school and four-year college. And don't get me wrong, I love college. I mean, I love being an academic. You're all here because you love being an academic too. But it doesn't mean it's going to be the path for everyone, and it doesn't mean that somebody's going to be a failure if they don't take that path. So I think that we have to get out of this box, this educational box, and we're seeing the same thing with assistive technology. And I think the hard part is that sometimes you have to convince the powers that be that a new and interesting path might be a better path for some students. And the same with parents. And that comes back to the thought of ego, and that a lot of times we see, with parents, myself included, that ego gets in the way. That we say we want best for our children, but sometimes we want them to look good. And, I have to be honest about that. I wasn't always the perfect parent. My kids are raised now. Whew! Are they ever really, though? But so when you're looking at assistive technology in this, you can't limit yourself in this box. And I love that you all brought that up. And you can't have this fantasy that the grass is going to be greener on the other side. You have to work with what you have. You have to work with what you have. And that goes for all of your students. And Brittany, you had brought up, perseverance with students, that they had to learn, creativity and perseverance. Obviously they do. Creativity is so important in math and science and English and art. A lot of times people just see creativity as limited to the arts, but being creative in your mind is stepping outside of that box. Okay, it's allowing yourself to step out of the small box by being creative. And perseverance, all the brain-based studies today show that the number one predictor of moving forward in education and being a truly educated person is perseverance. It's true grit. It's having grit. It's being knocked down and getting back up and doing it again, which leads me back to the modeling, which I was talking about with Courtney with the questions on the SAT and the ACT. We have to model grit for our students as well. Okay, that they have to see. They come in thinking that we're the experts and that we have never failed in anything, and it's our job to let them know we all fail. We all fail in things, and that the key is that you don't let it beat you up. You get back up and you do it again. So I thought it was really interesting, your thread. Now, Maricela and Morgan, you guys both brought up echolocation. And Morgan, you'd brought up your deaf friend. That's why I put up the link about the Starbucks cafe, the new Starbucks cafe that's all sign language, which I think is fabulous. But when you guys were talking about echolocation, and I forget who said about the strong parent. Oh, Marcella. Um, you were talking about artists and celebrities that, when they had disabilities, that they had strong parents. And of course, I immediately always go to Ray Charles with the echolocation. And I don't know how much you guys know about Ray Charles, the musician, who was blind, suffered a debilitating illness when he was a child and went blind. He had a very, very hard life. He was quite poor, and his mother was not educated. She was a tough young woman. In fact, Ray Charles lost his brother at a very young age to an accident, and a lot of people felt that he, never got over that. But when you listen to his interviews and you read, about his life, he said that he struggled more with his mother's passing. And I think that comes to what you're saying, Marcella, that, he had the strong parent. It didn't matter that she was educated. It didn't matter that she was dirt poor. What mattered is she said to him, I'm not going to make you handicapped, basically, is what she said during that time period. And you have to remember that the time Ray Charles lived was a time period when deaf people did not have opportunities in America. They went to schools for the blind. They did caning and pencil selling, and there were very limited opportunities. And Ray Charles, because of his background and because of his mother's true grit, she gave him true grit. Now, I'm not saying Ray Charles didn't struggle as an adult. We know that he was an addict. A lot of us struggle as adults with things, but it's pretty amazing looking at his disability and looking at how he thought outside of the box and what his life became. I mean, his echolocation skills were unbelievable. And a lot of people don't know he wore these really hard-soled shoes so that when he walked, he not only counted steps, he didn't want people to have to take him anywhere. And here he is touring. He was doing the Chitlin circuit that started in the South and went all the way through the United States. And he ends up in Washington State, which is funny. That's where he meets Quincy Jones. They're both running around that area together. But he created his own assistive technology basically during a time period when there wasn't any. And so he'd wear these hard-soled shoes that when he walked, he'd count his steps outside. Count his steps from wherever location he was, back and forth, so he could always find his way around a town without anybody assisting him. And then inside, when he was wearing these hard-soled shoes, the sound changed when he would go past open doorways. So he knew where there was an opening, and he knew where there was a wall. And I always loved learning about Ray Charles because, there's a person right there that thought outside of the box and didn't let their disability get in the way of what they could become. And look at everything that he did, musically is unbelievable, and related to civil rights as well. So, something to think about. So that perseverance, true grit, is the number one predictor at this point in time, based on the studies, the brain-based research, on how successful that you're going to be. So, I think I got everything, and I don't want to go too long because I'm already at almost 14 minutes. Week 3 is very simple. The assignment should not be difficult for you. Contact me if you need me, but you're looking at assistive technology tools, and then you'll see that your week 6 assignment is in there. So I like to stagger things so you can kind of look forward and start moving through without becoming too stressed. Remember that this class is about opening that door so that you can start looking at different things that maybe you didn't know about, or thinking about different things related to special needs students and assistive technology, and how you can better serve all students. This week you're looking at calculators. So I want you to have a wonderful week, and I'm here. Okay? All right. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.